Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Max. My little dog's name is Jackson. He's over there. All right, it's time for the top 20 high yield ETFs of the week, and that is according to the Max Factor. All right, the top 20 high yield ETFs of the week. Now, first of all, let's look at kind of what happened this week. Now, the SPY, this is a daily chart of the SPY. The SPY got under its 50-day moving average. The 50-day average is the top line. The SPY got under the 50-day moving average this week just for a little while, about half a day. But anyway, it's the first time it's been under since back in May. So the SPY's, it's been weak. It looks like it topped out around 690 and closed the week at 670. So some of the ones that were at the top of the Max Factor a few weeks ago aren't leading as much anymore and have dropped off. And I'm thinking mainly of Bitcoin-based high yield ETFs. Bitcoin has actually gone into a bear market. Bitcoin lost their 50-day moving average, and they lost their 200-day moving average, and they're off more than 20% from the highs. To me, a bear market is under the 200-day moving average and off 20% from the highs. And so this qualifies, Bitcoin qualifies as being in a bear market. So a lot of the ones that were up there a month ago when Bitcoin was topping out, Bitcoin topped out October 8th. So a lot of the ones that were up there, a month and a half ago are now off the list. So we have some new ones on the list. So let's see who we have. All right, number 20 is Soxy. Now that's based on semiconductors. Number 19 is Chippy. Now Chippy is also based on semiconductors. They're both from YieldMax. Chippy yields 37, Soxy only yields 10. Well, Soxy is a target 12 fund, meaning they sell covered calls, but only enough covered calls to try to get a target of 12%, leaving them able to get extra upside, because they aren't capped on part of the portfolio. Chippy says, heck, I'm just going to sell on the entire portfolio and get extra yield. You can either have extra yield or you can have extra upside. So that's kind of what the Max Factor looks at. That's exactly. So if you look at Soxy, it took the extra upside. Well, it has about 10% upside. If you look at Chippy, they took the extra yield, but they have less upside. It's just math. Then we have Apple from Apple. This is a good one, yielding 36%. Then we have WEEI. This is an energy infrastructure fund from a company called Westwood. It's doing a great job, paying 12.4%. NAV's good. Then we have Spin, yielding 8%, but had good NAV return at 6%. TLTW, this is based on bonds, yielding 16.8%. Great job. NAV is only up 2%. If you look over here at the stable dex, this is relative stability to the market. So this TLTW is 1.6 times as stable as the broader market. So this is on the safer side for sure. Then an opposite example would be something like GDXY. Now, granted, it does yield 48%, and the NAV's doing great. The NAV's up 4.63%, but it's only about as stable as the overall market. If you're looking for a more stable fund, GDXY may not be the one for you. Not financial advice, of course. Number 13 is TS2 from Rex. Now, this thing's doing great, yielding almost 50%, and it has positive 6% on NAV. Not too stable, only about a quarter as stable as the overall market. But what do you expect? It's based on Tesla, right? The S&P 500 is based on the 500 biggest stocks in the United States. That's what I'm calling the overall market. So if you want to base something on one stock and that stock is Tesla, it's not going to be quite as stable. And like we see, it's about a fourth as stable as the overall market. Stability means a lot to you. TS2 may not be the one for you either. Then we have XYLD from Global X, yielding 11.7%. Quarterly NAV return of positive 3%. That's not bad, and tons of stability. 2.2 times as stable as the overall market. Great job, XYLD. Then we have QYLD, also from Global X. Super good yield, super stable, about 1.8 times as stable as the broader market. NAV return is positive 4%. It's just this one's doing great. Then we have IAUI yielding 11%. This is based on gold. Had a great quarter, up 10%. And it's about 8/10 as stable as the broader market. Like to see that. Number 9 is K-Gold. This is from Curve, yielding 10.72%. The NAV this quarter has gone from a price of $24.37 to a price of $29. making a NAV return of 19% on this quarter. Wow, that's really good. Not quite as stable. It's about half as stable as the broader market. Number 8 is Silvo, based on silver, yielding 16%. Quarterly NAV return is positive 11%. Great job. And it's about 0.6 as stable as the overall market. Then we have TSLP. This is also based on Tesla, just like TS2 was. Now, TSLP yields a 40% yield, or makes a 40% yield. NAV's gone from 20.35 to 22.34. It's actually up $1.99 on the quarter, NAV only. It's pretty good. That's almost 10%. Super stable. We'll take it. Number 6 is Gold Eye, yielding 13.8%. Great job, Gold Eye. Lots of precious metals ones on here this time. Like I said, the market's pulling back, and we're seeing some different leadership in here, especially the Bitcoin market. In any event, GLDI is 7.6% quarterly NAV return, and it is 1.1 times as stable as the broader market. If you just want to compare GLDI to K-Gold, GLDI has a little bit more yield, 13 to call it 11. However, K-Gold had caught more upside. It caught 19% upside, where Gold Eye just caught 7% upside. The thing is, though, K-Gold is only about half as stable as the broader market. The strategy that Gold Eye is doing, whatever that is, with their options, is more stable than the broader market. I would assume what Gold Eye is doing is they're selling monthly options, writing monthly covered calls, and I would assume what K-Gold is doing is writing weekly covered calls. Next, we have XYLG. This one is on here with an asterisk. It really doesn't earn that much. It earns 12% on a regular basis, but it had a special dividend. Nonetheless, if you've had it over the past year, you've been rewarded handsomely. You're getting a 22% yield, and your NAV's up almost 4% on the quarter, and it's really stable. Good job, XYLG. Number 4 is Goop. All right, so Goop is based on Google. Its yield is 13%. NAV return is positive 20. It's only about half as stable as the broader market, but remember, it's just one stock. Now, Warren Buffett, or not Warren Buffett, but Berkshire Hathaway's took a big position in Goop. They just announced that on Friday. Not in Goop. That would be a scoop on Goop. No, they took a big position in Google, and they just announced that on Friday. But in any event, that ought to help out the Google-based high-yield funds. And they've been going up for a while. Google's been on fire for a while. Number 13 is iGold. All right, so iGold is yielding 15%, has 16% positive NAV, and it's about 2/3 as stable as the broader market. Great job, iGold. Then we have GUI yielding 43%. NAV's up 7.5% on the quarter, and it's about half as stable as the overall market. And coming in at number 1, we have AMDW. This is based on AMD. This is from Roundhill. This is a good looking fund. Look at this. Yields 57%, and the NAV's up 23%. Now you're sacrificing some in terms of stability. This is the lowest stability score on the, out of all of the ones on the list, but whatever, it's been paying you handsomely at a 57% yield with a 23% positive NAV return. That's just awesome. If we wanted to compare AMDW to the next closest AMD surrogate, it would be AMDY, I think. It's AMDY at 24. Now, AMDY is yielding 62%, but the NAV, unfortunately, was only up 3%. So you got a little bit more yield compared to AMDW, but the NAV did not do nearly as well. And AMDY wasn't that stable either. It's maybe fractionally more stable than AMDW, but AMDW is definitely our winner today, and I definitely think it deserves to be the winner. All right, guys, so that's it for the Max Factor. Let me know what you thought. I hope your favorite fund was on here. If it wasn't, maybe it'll be on next week. Maybe we can go over the rest of these next week. There's some good ones in here in the top 50. Will is a good fund. SPY Eye is a great fund that a lot of people are really happy with at 45. CLM from Cornerstone is a really good fund. T-SPY from our friends over at Tap Alpha does a great job. It comes in at number 40, but it's doing it still. It's protecting capital and paying a yield. GPIX from Goldman and GPIQ from Goldman are good quality funds. CAIE, my friend Marcus really likes this fund, and he's just about got me talked into buying it. This is an auto-callable bond fund. So they don't do covered calls, but they still pay an income. They just do it in a little bit different way. And it is based on the stock market. So it's like a cousin of covered calls, but it's a little different. And Big Y from our friends over at YieldMax. This has been a really good performing fund lately. This thing made a 10.6% yield, and its NAV is positive on the quarter. Good job. And Devo and iDevo are some really popular funds that came in at 25th and 26th. IVVW is based on the, that's from iShares. It's based on the IVV, which is the S&P 500. It's their version of the S&P 500. And or it's like a total market index. It's very similar. So 16.8% yield, and you had positive NAV return. NAV wasn't up a whole lot, but you also had 1.5 times the stability of the overall market, which is really good at letting you sleep at night. So these ones that are kind of towards the top of the list are the ones that in theory pay as high of a yield as possible, but they don't have to sacrifice too much NAV return. These are the ones that have been the best compromises and the best mixtures of yield and NAV return. Remember, the yield and the NAV return work opposite of each other. You have a high yield, you're going to have a low NAV return. If you have a high NAV return, you're going to have a lower yield, other things being equal. But we could still line all these up and compare them with each other. And that's what we do here on the Max Factor. Be watching for my show, The Daily Factor, where we go in a little bit further behind the scenes and we look at specific subgroups of these ETFs. Like we have Tesla Tuesdays, where we look at all the Tesla surrogates. Sometimes we look at all the NASDAQ-based high yield funds. We do a different theme every day. Anyway, be looking for the Daily Factor, and thank you so much for tuning in to this week's Top 20 Factor. I'm sorry about the graphics, but the graphics will be back next week. All right, guys, thank you very much. You have a great weekend.